Well, the second Lord is Adonai. The first Lord is Adonai. The second Lord is Adonai.
That's the word. That can you tell us a little bit more about that word Adonai? As far as I know or understand, it is never used for Yahweh, for God in the Old Testament.
I don't think so. No, that bit that you've highlighted at the left-hand end, underneath one of almost the last letter, there's a dot. That's the thing that indicates that word is Adonai. If you go one word to the right, the consonants you've got there in that word to the right are the consonants of the name Yahweh. But the vowels are the vowels of the word Adonai. And so if you look underneath that word, the left hand of the vowels, there's a thing that looks like a T. And that's the thing that makes the difference between Adonai, that's the thing with the T, and Adonai, that's the thing with the dot.
It's funny you bring up the dot. So we're talking about the vowel points. So these were added, as far as I've been able to research, the vowel points there were added about a millennia or so after the New Testament times. Is that right?
If you buy a modern Israeli newspaper in Hebrew, there are no vowels, like many other Middle Eastern type languages. So you only get the consonants. So you had to be able to work out for yourself what the vowels were. The way I explain this to students is I write up at the blackboard TH, CT, ST, N, MT. The students for whom English is their first language know that says the cat sat on the mat. The students for whom English is not their first language may not be able to work that out, which shows that you don't really need vowels if it's your language. So through Old Testament times, Hebrew was written as modern Israeli Hebrew is, without vowels, just with the consonants. But anybody whose language it was didn't have great trouble in working out what the vowels were. Today, the problem would be, if Hebrew isn't your first language, the problem came in late Old Testament times, when many people were now trying to read the scriptures for whom Hebrew was not their everyday language. And so eventually, in the time just before Jesus's day and in the period after Jesus's day, people were devising different ways of signaling what the vowels were. I mean, there was a tradition. Anybody reading the scriptures out in the synagogue would be able to read it out without the vowels. They had to supply the vowels as they went along, which they could do. But during that millennium after Christ, vowels came to be put in for the sake of people like you and me, who for whom Hebrew wasn't their first language. So technically, it's right that the vowels were not put in till a long time after the time of Jesus, but they were actually putting the vowels in, making them actually be written when previously they'd been only spoken.
They already knew that the word there, without even the vowel points introduced by, I believe, the Masoretes, the 800s or so, 900 AD, something like that. So Jews reading this, Israelites, ancient Israelites, before the pointings, the vowel points, they still knew what it said. Is that what you mean?
Yes, yeah. Just
Okay.
like a modern Israeli can read a Bible text that hasn't got vowels in, because it's their language. So likewise, any Jew in Jesus's day would know how to read that line of the psalm that you put up. But the actual that they could work out in their own heads, as it were. They knew from what their parents had told them from when they'd heard it read out and so on. They knew what the vowel points were, but they were only put in that period sometime after Jesus' day. So what the psalm is saying is, the Lord, that is God, said to my Lord, that is the King, sit at my right hand.
Right, and the New Testament writers applied that to Jesus.
Well, yeah, because in between, obviously, comes to be about a future Messiah for people because they haven't got a present king. So it comes to be about a future Messiah. So then when Jesus comes along and you know that he's the Messiah, then the psalm comes to be about him.